Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a special presentation of CodeX. We have an interview with Corissa Grant right down there, right below. She is from Worthy Chaos Comics, and we are talking all about redemption. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are prepared for something awesome because that is exactly what it's going to be. With me, as always, on either side is the immortal Sonny Kruger. Sonny, how you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing good. I'm excited for this interview with Corissa Grant.
All right, fantastic. Carissa, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Go ahead and let everybody know who you are and what exactly you do.
Okay, so Corissa Grant. I am here in Tennessee, so I'm local to you at least.
20
and
minutes away.
I am the writer and creator of Worthy Chaos Comics, which is 3 series. This is the first one released, which is Redemption. It's a long one. It's 7 books, but winds up being about 40 issues. So
Nice.
it's a long journey.
Nice. And over there in the chat, guys, you can see the links for her Kickstarter and for the website. So by all means, go ahead and check both of those out. But Sonny, why don't you go ahead and get us started here?
All right, I'll start us off with a big one. So, Redemption is a story with a lot of cool characters, a lot of violence, a lot of romance. But what is the one thing you would like for your readers to take away from when they read Redemption?
Well, what makes Redemption a little bit different than other comic books or other books, the characters are actually written by 2 completely different people. So my co-writer and I, we each have our own character. I write Seraphina, the angel descendant, and all her actions, her thoughts, her dialogue, it's all me. And all of Draven, who's the demon descendant, she controls everything he says and does. So it's completely 2 different personalities, which you don't normally get from a book. Even if you have co-writers, they don't normally just do one whole character. So it's a little bit more unique in that they are completely different. So you have these personalities that are, he's more quiet and sarcastic and thinks a lot more, and she talks all the time. So kind of like me. So
Well,
All
Carissa,
good.
what was your inspiration for the characters? Like what drove you to create them?
So I started from a simple idea of I had studied religions, every religion, Egypt, Christianity, everything. And there's one angel called Remnal who is the judgment of souls. He takes the souls and he judges them, and then he takes them to heaven. And for some weird reason, I was wondering how he got them there. Like, I'm sure they're not in his pocket, and it wasn't, they never mentioned it. So 17 years now, I created this little angelic weapon that holds the power of souls and contains them until he brings them up to heaven. And this is what both the angels and the demons want, because it has the power of souls. It can tip the scale of the wars to either side. And that's kind of what started this whole thing from this one little idea. So
Okay.
Interesting. And then I was going to say certain characters, like I said, that you have names like Seraphina, Draven, Anubis. How do you normally come up with these names for your characters? What's your
Well,
usual
Seraphina
routine?
is kind of a hint. A seraphim is the highest order of angel. It's one of the most powerful. So her name is kind of, a hint towards that. Also, we can call her Sarah for short. Draven, my co-writer picked, and I think we both loved it without thinking about it, but it is the last name of the character in The Crow, which was our favorite back in the day. So I don't think we realized it at the time, but after we were like, oh, that's Draven. So
You can't not love The Crow. The Crow is
Yes.
pinnacle independent comic book storytelling, and to use a name like that is such a wonderful thing to add to a character.
it was my favorite graphic novel of all time, and it actually got me to totally love comics. I mean, Ghost Rider was something I collected a lot, but the Crow was just always there, and I used to draw from it and sketch from it. I absolutely loved it, and he's actually my idol, and if as long as he doesn't cancel, I should be meeting him June 9th, because he's going to be at a convention by us in Knoxville. So
James O'Barr?
James O'Barr will be
Is
at FrankenCon.
we will be meeting up there because I have the graphic novel sitting back here on my bookshelf, so get prepared for that.
Yeah, I have a table there, but I will be leaving that table to be going to get an autograph from James O'Barr. So,
Nice.
and I'm actually, they didn't have any room for me. And I don't know if they felt pity for me, but they said, well, you can have a table out in the hallway before you go in, and you just have to bring your stuff with you when you leave, and it's a little cheaper. And I was like, they have to pass me to get inside. I had the best spot ever. So I am perfectly fine with that.
Nice.
Let's talk about that for a second. So like with the Kickstarter, you said that funded in 6 hours. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, in 6 hours. Yep.
That is bananas.
Ooh.
So this is the third Kickstarter that you've done, correct?
Yeah, the first one was a different artist for issue 1, which it turned out okay and people liked it, but it did not fit my vision. And that artist kind of screwed me over a little bit he took $3,000 from me, and then I tried to fix it with 2,000 more. And then I found the new artist, and his work, Jonas DaCosta, is amazing. This is his first paid gig, by the way. So if you like his art,
very good.
So this is paid gig. He's learning, but he's doing amazing. And you can already tell in book 4, if you see some of the art, I even was asked, is it the same one? Because it's just so much advanced. I mean, he's doing so much better. And all the art is great. He does amazing panels and everything, which is his specialty. But so he came in on issue 2, and then he did issue 3. And by the time issue 3 was done, I was so in love with his art. I was like, we're just going to have to just do one. We're just going to have to suck it up and do one. And I had to convince my husband to spend, he's like, how much did that cost? I was like, yes, not important.
Your dreams are worth it.
Don't worry about it. And I asked like 15 people if I should redo it. Every single one said no, but I could not get it off my mind. I just had to get them to look all alike, and the way he drew them was exactly how I envisioned them in my head, and I had to do it. So I did that, and now he did 1 through 3. 4 is finished. I even got some in the mail if you want to see.
Sure. I think that artwork is perfect. I think it's exactly from issue 1 all the way through. Right, yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
The business cards I have in my wallet are that cover.
Yes, and these are 80-pound glossy pages. Yeah, exactly. And the art just looks phenomenal on them. And and I don't know. I was told, you're just starting out. You should save your money and do newsprint, which is fine. Comics look great. I love news. I used to read it, but the art is dark and it just looks so nice on the glossy. So I said, screw it. Spare no expense.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So and it turned out phenomenal. And I love the covers, the homage to Supernatural, and it's got the car, and the license plate is Dean Winchester's birthday. So,
nice.
So for anyone who watches Supernatural, there is a difference though between us and Supernatural, and the fact that there's only one thing I hated about the show. Their demons and angels were not accurate to scripture. And I'm not saying you have to be, but they just literally took names and made them completely different characters. Like I don't know why they would do that. In fact, they made Remnal a prince of hell, and he's a high-powered angel. So
you're trying to stick closer to the source material then? Yeah,
all the angels and all the demons that we didn't make up, like there are some we made up or added to, but they all have their duties that they did and their jobs that they did in heaven. And of course, we add personalities to them because we didn't really have personalities back then. We did some things like them, like Remnal's powers are the same. He has the power of lightning. He has his job was the judgment of souls, which is why he had the weapon. The demon that was after him, Asmin, is actually a chaos demon who feeds off of which they have nothing to do with each other in script. It just happened to be the ones we picked match. It was completely coincidental. But Draven's father is Asmin, who he used to steal the souls from the Judgment Bridge because he feeds off of that. And to make the kicker, we did not do this. It was just happened to be luck. He is immune to any forms of lightning. So it was just this whole, it just went perfect. Nice. And of course we created their backstories. They didn't have any backstories and anything like that. But the biggest change that we did was we have a subspecies called vampires called Subspecies of Vampires called Clotters, that is in for the first time introduced into issue 4.
Okay.
And they have a little bit more uniqueness to them in the fact that, one, their heart beats every 6 hours, which is just enough to keep off rigor mortis. So if you cut them, they bleed like clotted blood, which makes it more disgusting. But it always bothered me when you'd cut a vampire in a movie and they'd bleed. They have no heartbeat. How are they bleeding? So that always bothered me. So I had to put a little realistic in the mythology there. And also, so the only way to kill them is to chop off their heads or burn them. But the part that's the worst, which I feel like I tortured my poor characters, they have a hive mind, all the family. So if one tastes your blood, they can track you anywhere you go, no matter what. And if you kill one, they will track you down for revenge and destroy you. So in ours, of course, that's what happens. One tastes her blood, she kills one, and now they have to go on a hunt to kill every single one of the family, so they won't come up and hunt them. So that is the next 3 issues is them trying to hunt down the entire family before it's too late.
Wow.
Yeah. And speaking of issues, for those who don't know, how many issues do you plan on having for this story of redemption?
So this series is already written. I wrote it with the co-writer Jessica, and it's 5 books, which comes out to be about 40 issues written. So we release about every other month. And this, like I said, issue 4 is already done. Issue 5 is already in the works, and we will release that June 20th. So we already have the first book planned out to releases. So it's June 20th, August 13th, and October 3rd will be issue 7 and book 1 all together in a graphic novel, which will be 236 pages about.
Wow.
Good amount. Good.
Well, let's take it back a minute. You said that you collected Ghost Rider a lot when you were younger, right? So was that like the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, that type of run, the Howard Mackey
I
stuff?
learned, so my brother collected the original with Johnny Blaze, but by the time I discovered it, it was Danny Ketch.
Gotcha.
And I did love him more only because he kind of chose to be the hero, whereas Johnny Blaze didn't have any control over doing it or not. He hated the demon inside him, whereas Danny kind of
embraced it
more. Yeah, he embraced it more. But I love Spirits of Vengeance. I love the dynamics they had between each other, and I never really liked. I do better when there's more than one character because they feed off each other. So I really liked Spirits of Vengeance. I did collect the Ghost Riders and that, but I love crossover. So I had when Venom went to Spirits of the Vengeance. I had X-Men went to Spirits of the Vengeance. So I love all that stuff. I have the box for here too.
Did any of that stuff that you were collecting back then, like the Midnight Sun stuff, Night Stalkers, Spirits of Vengeance, Ghost Rider, did any of that have any inspiration for what eventually became Redemption?
Not really. I mean, the only thing that probably did was the motorcycle gets lit on fire as a nod. But it's more, it's really Resident Evil 2, the video game, that got me into it, and then Supernatural to boot, kind of. But Resident Evil 2 is the absolute reason why I started writing. And it's really weird how it started. I saw a commercial where the crocodile comes out to get Leon in the sewer, and I don't know why that did it. I begged my parents to go get PlayStation 1 for me, and whatever holiday was there, I used that as an excuse. We went and got that. I rented the game. No instructions in the game. I could not get Leon to walk anywhere but inside the fire, so I threw the controller, and I was very mad about it. My brother, who's been playing games his whole life, Zelda and all that, comes in, starts playing like it's nothing, pisses me off. I kick him out when I start playing. So I absolutely fell in love with the game. And years later, I saw the horror movie Stay Alive. And I was researching the truth behind Elizabeth Bathory, and for whatever reason, MySpace had role players talk the characters from Stay Alive. And
Ladies and gentlemen, in the before times, before Facebook and Twitter, there was something called MySpace, which us older people loved very much and got to craft and create exactly how we wanted to. 100 times better.
Yeah, I miss it. So I asked them, isn't that copywriting and using these people's pictures? Isn't that bad? She's like, no. She's like, just pick a character you want to be and make it. And I was like, all right. So I'm looking around my room, and there was a giant cutout of Leon from Resident Evil 4, and I was like, oh, I want to be Claire. So I made Claire, and I role played Claire for 15 years. And after 15 years, I was holding on to this role this whole time, and people begged me to take this role, which would be Draven. And I don't know, there was just something missing. And even though there were great writers, and I wrote with some of them for like 2-3 years, never would give it up. And then I met Jessica, and whatever reason, the first day I was like, you want the role? And she's like, yeah. And then that was it. And 2 years later, we wrote 11 novels, and we're still writing. I wrote a chapter today, and she sent me a chapter yesterday. And yeah.
Nice.
Sonny, we need to take this cue, man. We need to start writing scripts.
Yeah. You know, I usually prefer to write alone, Tim. Sorry.
Time for a team up.
Yeah.
But Chris, I was going to ask you, since you were mentioning role playing, you know, what are some differences you notice as being a female role player? You want to say any differences?
Yeah, it was different being a role player. There wasn't, you know, back in the day when I went to comic book stores, it was all men. You know, you walk in, they're playing.
Still kind of is.
Yeah, it still kind of is. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons on the table and all that stuff. And I think I was looked on by, I don't know, some surprise shows up. But yeah, it was a little bit different being a female. And I'm also dyslexic. So when I started, it was a lot harder. You know, it took about 4 years before I could write more than a few sentences. And now I write like 6,000 words in 2 hours. So obviously advanced just a little bit.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good that you didn't give up. You kept with it.
Yeah.
Speaking of dyslexia, our friend Dan on the CodeX station, he had a question about that. And I'm trying to find it here. But he wanted to know about that. Like, how does that affect the way that you write? And how does that affect the way that stories come out?
So I have not a lot of people know that many forms of dyslexia. Everyone always just think that the letters look weird or backwards, and it is in some aspects, but it's far more than that. I mean, certain things, like you'll write certain ways that you thought you said those words in your head, but you wrote different words down, and especially the opposite, which really can be confusing. A lot of times I write can instead of can't, and don't and do, and like they get mixed up a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll read over things and I'll be like, I don't know what I was thinking. And I don't stop when I write. I pretty much will sit down and I'll write 3,000 to 6,000 words, and then I'll read it over, and generally it's fine. But as for some reason in dyslexia, we get very much distracted. It's kind of like ADD, but not tension wise. It's just, it's a really weird. We see things out of the corner of the eye. And I didn't know that until I did the test for dyslexia. I think there was like 46 cues and I'm 38 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but one of them was you notice things in the corner of your eye. And I always just thought there was, you know, my mind playing tricks on me. So for some reason, what helps me is when I sit down to write, I have to have the TV on but paused. Like, I don't know why that helps me, but it being paused helps, for whatever reason, keep distractions at bay. So
does that come into like sensory that keeps that?
Yeah, I think it's because I know the picture's there and I know it's not moving. So I think my mind just focuses on that instead of anything else. You know,
got it.
And I'm pretty much, I have my own office down here, but I always write on my couch. So I think maybe it just helps my mind focus on one thing and
fair enough.
Not be distracted. So yeah.
Right on. Sonny?
And earlier too, you know, we were, you know, I think before the show we started, you were showing us the plushie. I was gonna see if you want to show everyone that Anubis plushie, and then you have some more plushies.
I have tons of plushies. I am plushie queen. This is Anubis. He is handmade. He is available in the higher tiers. There isn't many left. But this one's mine, so you guys can have it. Just
I've got a sticker. I'm close.
Yeah. But I have other ones that are going to probably be available in June 1. There was so many in this one that I kind of cut back. But this is the skeleton bird from 3.
Oh, hang on a second. Let's show that cover right there. Yeah.
So that's the skeleton birds. He's not on the cover, but this is the zombie merman from the end of 1 in the fight she does underwater. So he's got the little suckers on the bottom of his
yeah.
Just before when me and Tim were talking, I was saying, I'm like, I really like the monsters. They look really cool, and it was who I was really thinking about.
Yeah, the zombie merman. This is he's not in this until later, but I just had to have him made. This is
Spoiler.
yeah. This is the fur demon. He's also the one on the back. He's a deer demon. In history, I gave him a petticoat. He did not have a petticoat, but he is a deer demon, and in mythology, he's a dark Cupid. In ours, he just stalks Draven because he lost his eye and his fangs due to a fight with him. So he's got fights going on. And then I have pillows. These are bigger ones than I offer. These are for me. But these are the 3 foot ones. We've got the fighting one, and we have the cute Anubis one, which is
wow.
But there's smaller versions of them. And then this is from the prequel, which is the Apollo rat. He's from mythology. Not a lot of people, well, not the rat's not from mythology, but Apollo is from mythology. And not a lot of people know that he was the Lord of the Rodents. So I didn't know that when I made Apollo. I just really liked the name. And then I was like, oh, I can make him associated with Apollo. And then I looked it up, and he is the Lord of Rodents. So everything that happened was meant to be in this story. And then there's the 2 characters somewhere. Oh, and then we have 3D prints. So these are Anubis as a 3D.
I saw those when I met you at My Guys Comics. Yeah, those were on the table.
Someone bought one there. They could not decide on the color, and they wound up getting the black one. So I'm only selling the gold ones for now, and we're saving
That's amazing.
the black ones. But yeah.
Well, let's take it back to dyslexia for a moment. Sal, resident codexer, has a question. He says, I've always have and still do have trouble putting thoughts to paper. What do you do to make that transfer happen? Now, I know you said something about making sure that distraction is covered with the pause program on television, but is there anything else that you do?
I don't think ahead of writing, which probably most people should. I don't try to get my thoughts jumbled. So I literally just sit down and type, and half the time I don't even know what I wrote until I'm done. I just say my character writes for me. But I think not thinking too much on it helps me too, because my thoughts won't get jumbled. So I just kind of like, right. And then it's like this, I've actually argued with the character in my head. So I might have another personality in my head, but I'll write something and I'll just keep thinking this makes no sense when I'm writing, and I just keep writing it. And then when I'm done, I was like, oh, that turned out really cool. So not thinking too much on it, because if you think too hard on what's to happen, you kind of lose the moment of it. And I know my co-writer thinks way harder than I do, so I don't know how to make that. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. But
as a writer, like when I've done things, and Sonny, you are more of a writer than I am, so I know you've got opinions on this, but I feel the same way you do, Corissa. Like, I don't think when I write, like the story comes out as my fingers move, and then I correct and adjust after it's over.
Well, so we're finishing up the spinoff, which is also 5 novels, and we're on book 5 now. And when I literally started book 5, I had no plans for book 5 at all, none at all. And then I was writing it, and then while I was writing, it just came out, and I was like, that is an amazing idea. Like, I didn't even, I'm appraising myself as I'm writing it. I'm like, that was a good idea. Like, I don't know where that came from. And it worked out so perfectly. And now we're like midway through, 5. And like I said, there was no thought process whatsoever for it. Nice. So it just kind of flowed out,
Yeah, for me, I usually write a lot of notes first, and then, like I said, it's almost like, I think this is one thing that I think a lot of writers could relate to, is it's almost like watching TV. It's almost like watching TV in your head, like you're just watching it and your hands are just moving and you're typing.
I used to watch it as a movie, and now they're all panels. So it switched when I switched to comic books. But when I wrote, it was all a movie. And when I read it now, I can do both, the movie or the comic. But now when I'm converting to scripts, I can see it all. And I still write novel-wise first. Like, even if I have like one scene, like I added Anubis to the end of to parts of book 7 that weren't originally there. And I still had to write it out as a novel, even if it's only 2 pages, and then go back and convert it to where, what it was. But it flows better. And I think that's why a lot of people praised our dialogue. I don't know if you guys like the dialogue, but a lot of people praised the dialogue for not being choppy or anything. It's because it flowed out, and then we shortened it,
The dialogue, as far as what I've gotten, is it's very to the point. There is no in between. The characters say exactly what they mean. The thought bubbles give you context for what everybody's thinking or whatever's going on at the time. There's great description for attitude, personality in the words for characters. I think it flows very well, and the artwork makes it visually just as appealing.
The art,
moves the story very fast, I'd say.
What?
I was gonna say, yeah, it gets the story moving, and yeah, you get through it really fast. So
it's a little chaotic.
It doesn't drag, like I said, it gets you into it, and immediately, like I said, no, it doesn't slow down. I like that.
I have to say, it never really slows down. There is a small scene in book 5 where I think for like 3 pages they actually have a conversation. So that helped, but it didn't really slow down because but yeah, they do start to connect more. Like the first 3 were very chaotic, and for anyone watching that hasn't really obviously read it, it starts off with them having to separate for 10 years, so they each thought that the other one was dead. So when they met up 10 years later, they kind of got tricked into it. He moved closer back to her, which when their souls are close together, it kind of sets off an alert. So the angels knew and the demons knew, and the angels tricked her to go to his town, and then the demons, merged the whole town with hell and trapped them in there.
Which was bananas, by the way.
Yeah.
The red tendrils that come out and all that stuff. Guys, I know we're saying a lot of spoilers for the books, but out of context, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think there's any spoilers that would make you want to not read it. It might make people want to read it more because you're just what?
When Sarah said, "Yeah, we need to get the hell out of here." Why? What's going on? I've seen these tendrils before. It doesn't mean anything good.
Yeah, and then it's actually a very cute scene with that one because I got talked to by my original letter, where he's like, from the first book, he goes, "How come shouldn't they be like kissing and like happy to meet each other?" And I was like, "No." I was like, absolutely not. They first off, she thinks it's a trick and he thinks it's a dream, and besides that, they had 10 years. He became an assassin during that time and she became a supernatural hunter. Their hearts are completely closed off, and they didn't know each other very long. I mean, they're soulmates, but they don't know that. So They knew each other for teenagers for maybe 2 months. So they really didn't know. And she has a lot of the feeling of being a burden, because even when she was younger, everything evil's attracted to her angelic blood, and she doesn't know that's the reason. So everything that happens, Draven's always getting hurt and defending her, and now she could fight and she still gets him into trouble. And so that's, if anyone wants to know where the title came from, Worthy Chaos, it's because of her. She'll always say, "I'm so sorry that you have to go through this," and he'll always say, "You're worth it." So to him, she's worth the chaos. So she's worthy chaos.
Well, you've got another fan here in Sal. He says, "I need to read this."
Yes, Sal. You need to read it. You'll enjoy it.
I have to. I'm very proud of the story. Like usually, I'm very negative. Like I used to do art, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's not that good," or the statues I make, and I'm like, whatever. But this story, I love this story. And I wouldn't say. So I have to admit that my writing isn't good enough to be like in a novel, because the way I write, I don't do the whole show don't tell thing. I don't have that ability. I tried it. It's very exhausting and I couldn't deal with it. I'm a storyteller and I can flat out tell the story. So I leave the story it's always in my head all the time. And I know people say, "Oh, I sleep, breathe, and eat the story." It's not a joke. Like I do, it's like 24/7. I'm either reading it, thinking about it, writing it, or organizing it, or working on it, or whatever, talking about it. But this story means so much to us. And if we were rich, we would just release it. Unfortunately, we don't have that ability. But we're not looking for profit. We just want to make enough to pay our artist. We just want to see these made. And I don't know if it'll be able to make them all, but that's our plan, and that we're gonna do everything we can to make that happen.
Our very own Wes Rebel Scum says HBO needs to pick this up like yesterday.
Yeah, you know what? Someone asked me if I could do a movie or a show But I got to be honest. First of all, it can't be a movie because there's too much going on all the time. It would be like 1,000 movies. So a show would be best. But if I had my way, I got to tell you, I would want a rated R animated series because I just think it would be so much. You could see all the dynamics, you could see the emotions and the characters, and I that would be my favorite. Yeah, I would love to see it, made someday, and the fact that it's already written helps. Now there is, there's a series 2 we're working on, there's a prequel we're working on, the spinoff. Now the spinoff we want to start hopefully next year if this works out and we can keep it going. The spinoff is pretty much a giant what if story. Before you start issue 1, there's the prequel, and they had planned to run away together. One single second changes the entire story, where in Redemption they get separated for 10 years, but in the spinoff they don't, and now these 2 characters actually get to run away, and now they're on the run as teenagers with all the same issues, except for he has no training as an assassin and she has no training as a supernatural hunter. So you just have these 2 wussy teenagers on the run. And they do, she's an angel descendant, so she has some ability, but she doesn't know anything about it. He is a demon descendant, so he has some powers. But you get to see them become the badass that they are in Redemption. You get to see that journey of how they train, and you get to see, especially Seraphina, grow from this hiding behind Draven to kicking ass. So you get to see that change in her. So it's really nice. Mostly we did this, and I'm not going to lie, and it's going to sound really stupid, but halfway through us writing these books, we felt guilty about taking the 10 years away from them. We felt so guilty. Like they kept saying, I wish we lost all this time and we wish we had this time back together. And I was just like, what if they did have that time back together? And 5 novels later, spinoff is almost done. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So is that going to come into comic book form also?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And what's the title of that going to be?
That one's Salvation. So they all kind of have a similar. So the prequel is Damnation. This is Redemption, and that's Salvation. Now, 5 issues of the prequel are done, but not drawn out. We have 1 issue drawn out from another artist, and it didn't work out that well because it looks good and it's a good way to see the characters meet, which, by the way, is a stretch goal in this. I don't know if we'll get that high, but we have the PDF available if it gets to like a certain amount. But in the prequel, we're going to write it even more, and it's probably going to be 5 books too, because it seems to be our motif. But we're going to go all the way back to where the fathers met up, and how Seraphina was created from the weapon, how Draven was created from the demons to go after her to get the weapon, but instead he fell in love with her. And then you actually get to see through each of their lives, how their fathers just kind of use them as pawns and try to so you get to see them in different time periods, like the Vikings and medieval times and all that stuff. And we get to kill them in different ways. But yeah, so there's a lot. This story, we were mad that the Never Ending Story title is taken, because this story is definitely a never ending story. So yeah.
Well, I think it's time to bring this interview to a close. I think we have gotten a lot of information here, and I don't want to do too much more because I want to have you come back. Sonny, what do you think about that?
That sounds good to me. Yeah, it's been great. Me and Chris literally just met 5 minutes before we started this. So
yeah,
it was
I
great
will
to
tell
meet you.
anybody if they want to find it easily on Kickstarter, you literally just have to search for Worthy Chaos. And we pop up. We're the only ones that pop up. So
that is exactly how I got the link, ladies and gentlemen, just by typing in Worthy Chaos. But I'm going to throw it right here for you in the chat too, once again. So before we get out of here, Sonny, give us one more closing question, and then we'll go into all of what the Kickstarter is about.
Okay, so since we were talking about a series, I was wondering if Redemption was to be made into a series, whether it be a live action or, like you said, animated. Is there anybody specifically that you would hope, you would dream, would play any of the characters, and who would they be?
Yes. I don't know if you guys know who Christian Kane is. He was in the Angel series. He was in Leverage and Librarians. Yeah. I love Christian Kane. He's got that rough voice.
I grew up on Buffy and Angel, so I'm with you right there.
Yeah. So if I would want him to be the voice of Draven, without a doubt. I also, the other characters on there, like Seth, would be Jensen. I love Jensen.
A dingo ate my baby.
Yeah. I would have Jared from Supernatural do Lucas. Serafina would be Alana Tao. She was Jo on Supernatural. So most of the and in all fairness, Christian Kane guest starred on Supernatural. So I could say everyone from Supernatural would be on this show. But even Crowley, I don't think you guys met Bereth yet, but he's one of the demons, so he would be there. And of course, Misha would be Camiel and he gets to use. And it's so funny because Misha hates that he had the rough voice because it ruined his throat. And the way my angel is in this, he's their guardian angel. He's stupider than Castiel ever was, so he could use his regular voice and it would fit just fine. He doesn't mean to be stupid. He's naive. We'll call him naive. So
there you go, Superman naive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right, Corissa, thank you very much for joining Sonny and I today. It has been an absolute treasure to sit here and talk with you about Redemption, Worthy Chaos Comics, Kickstarters, and so much more. So before we get out of here, let everybody know what the Kickstarter is and where they can find you when you're not kickstarting new comic books.
Okay, so the Kickstarter is going until May 16th at noon or 2:30, something like that. Like there's everything on there. Like I said, the PDFs, the printed, there's metal prints, there's wooden prints. If you guys should know comics, I don't know, but one of the variant covers is by DC artist Ken Hunt, who worked on Batman and Harley Quinn.
Is that issue 2? This one right here?
Oh no, that's Ian Chase Nichols that worked on the Tick and worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
This is I don't think you'll see. He's the variant B. It's Anubis. He looks like it was very, very, very popular.
The black and white picture you had hanging out.
So that's here. I got it real quick. So this is the black and white version. This is what he did. He penciled and inked it.
Hang on 1 second. I'm going to put you front and center so that way everybody can see that.
So this is, it's hard to see the details, but it's right there on the, now this is what the wood print was made out of, the metal print and the variant. However, it was colored by CC Dela Cruz, which is the current colorist of the internal pages for Lady Death Universe, if you guys know her. And they are both also working on the graphic novel cover for October. So that's very, very popular. And you can find me, I'm on the website, of course, but if you want to communicate with me, which I'm very good at talking, Twitter at Worthy Chaos, and it's at Worthy_Chaos. You can find me on Facebook, both Worthy Chaos, but you can also add me as Corissa Grant because I pretty much will talk to anybody. If anyone needs help in starting their own, I've helped a couple of people start. I've only been doing this 6 months, so I'm not an expert. But I'm obviously fast.
You know what you're doing though.
And you can, of course, our website is worthychaoscomics.com.
Yep, and I will throw that in the chat for you guys too.
Yeah. So.
Well,
also if anyone local, I will be at the comic book store May 6th for a free comic book day.
Which comic book store? My guys?
Yes. Yeah. They're my home local store. So.
Yep, I'll be there.
Yeah, so I'll be there. It's my comic's not the free one, but hopefully it'll be busy with all the people getting their free comic. So,
yeah.
If I wasn't about 1,000 miles from you, I would be there.
No excuse.
Well, Sonny, before we get out of here, why don't you give everybody a small taste of what CodeX is and what we do?
Okay, well, that's the CodeX station. We're everything comic book related. We have episodes of the CodeX podcast. There's After Dark, and there's Comic Character of the Week. And then we also have a whole bunch of videos on the spots where we're at places. We have mail calls where we're getting, guess what, comic books. And then, if you want to check out old episodes of Decoding Panels, you'll have this guy, Tim, walking you through some great comic books.
Punisher Circle of Blood.
Yeah, you need to check that one out. And I think my favorite one is still your Silver Surfer Annual 6.
I loved it. The whole thing. Yeah, if you guys
got a lot going on.
If you like dramatic comic book readings, there you go. Chris, if that's something you want us to do sometime, I would be more than happy to sit down and do that. That's something we can talk about off air. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Tim the Terrible. Right next to me is the immortal Sonny Kruger, and down below is the exceptionally talented Corissa Grant, writer for Redemption from Worthy Chaos Comics. The links to the Kickstarter and the website are right over there in the chat on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So go ahead and check that out. Support local artists, support independent comic books. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a CodeX special, and we will see you next time.